YouTube! My name is Scott, and welcome to another episode of Opinions No One Cares About, a video series that boldly goes where many other people have gone before, usually just to say, hi, I'm here too. I'm guessing you guys picked up on that really subtle clue I put in the intro, so you know I'm going to talk about Star Trek again. Let's start with an episode from TNG. Season 7, Episode 15, gave us Lower Decks, a look at 4 junior officers on the Enterprise and how their lives rarely intersected with the bridge crew. Not a bad episode all around, even if it was the final season with the ending clearly in sight. So Mike McMahon, a writer and producer on Rick and Morty, apparently looked at that episode the way the writers of Rogue One looked at the plans for the original Death Star, wondering, can I make something out of this? The result was Star Trek Lower Decks. It departs from the usual hour-long dramatic format of most Star Trek shows, choosing instead to be a half-hour animated comedy that clearly shares DNA with the original animated series that was on just after TOS. Oh, you didn't know there was already a Star Trek animated series? Oh yeah, it existed. After you've watched this video, go out and find it, especially the episode Yesteryear. Then, come back and thank me. Lower Decks is a great show. I happen to believe it's one of the few shows I've seen where every episode in a season was better than the one that came before it. And it's great to see the houses of Hogwarts represented so well in the 24th century. What? You didn't think this was only going to be about Star Trek, did you? That's right, I'm sorting characters into Hogwarts houses. Again. Now, what were the names of those houses he asked himself rhetorically for the sake of inserting a clip?
They are Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin.
Thanks, Professor. So, the main characters of Lower Decks are 4 young ensigns serving aboard the USS Cerritos, a California-class starship, which is a fact that I'm pointing out to flex my nerd muscles. Their lives do intersect with those of the bridge crew, but not often. And while an impartial observer would probably note that a great Starfleet officer would embody the main characteristic of each house, you know, the bravery of Gryffindor, the intelligence of Ravenclaw, the work ethic of Hufflepuff, and the ambition, not pureblood status, of Slytherin, I couldn't help notice that if you zoom in on each character, they tend to lean toward a specific house. So, let's take a look and get sorting, shall we? First up, Ensign Beckett Mariner. Mariner is kind of odd for a Starfleet officer. She's been promoted and demoted multiple times and seems content to remain an ensign. She also has, if I may quote Dumbledore,
a certain disregard for the rules.
Mariner is brash and sometimes abrasive, has no problem bucking authority, and is an all-around pain in the ass, as she would herself admit.
I'm a pain in the ass!
See? But she's also one of the bravest characters on the show, well past the point of recklessness. There's one point where she takes an unregistered spacewalk just to defend a friend of hers.
Backward, wait!
In this episode, she's fighting her senior officer over which one of them is going to get to fight the alien menace of the week. She proves her point by showing him the scars she's gotten in various situations.
See this bad boy? Tentacle guy. Bunch of arms. Stabbed me with a barnacle blade. Check it out. Magus 3. Nanibia Prime. Scottsdale. That was a mess.
He stabs her in the foot to stop her, but it's important to point out, because it proves my point, that Mariner was willing to throw down with an alien to save her crewmates. And then, there's this.
I challenge you all to a duel. Pick your weapons. I pick the mine.
Get out of here, Q! No, we are done with random stuff today. We're not dealing with any of your Q bullshit.
Beckett Mariner had the fearlessness to blow off Q, and Q accepts it. He, the godlike being, was begging her, the Starfleet ensign, to let him do his Q thing. Has anyone else in this universe stood up to Q like that?
Fight back! This is supposed to be brutal.
Okay, Cisco knew what was up. But we're not talking about him right now, we're sorting a cartoon character. And if you know your Harry Potter, you've probably realized that all my references to bravery mean that I'm putting her in Gryffindor, where dwell the brave at heart. I have no doubt Mariner could have pulled Gryffindor's sword from the sorting hat. But I do have to wonder, what happened in Scottsdale? How messy could it get in a fair to middling-sized city in Arizona? Or is it, I don't know, Scottsdale Kronos? That's the name of the Klingon homeworld. My nerd muscles are getting a workout today. Next up is Ensign Devana Tendi. Tendi is from Orion, and in my personal headcanon, she's the great-granddaughter of Captain Kirk and Gyla, who are his roommate at Starfleet Academy in the Kelvin timeline. I'm going to be so nerd swole after this. And yes, I know they are most likely different timelines. That's why it's a personal headcanon. Like, I don't need to point out that Lower Decks is obviously in the Prime timeline because the planet Vulcan is mentioned when it was blown up in the Kelvin timeline. But to be fair, I am now totally getting nerd-ripped from this. Anyway, Tendi's an ensign in the medical division. And she is extremely hardworking, but I'm going to set that aside for a second, because one of her other major character traits is friendliness, which of course demonstrates why she's in Hufflepuff House. Tendi takes being friendly very seriously, as we can see here.
You know, when O'Connor was screaming and turning into energy, it made me realize that life's too short to be hung up on whether everyone on the ship likes me.
That's great, because I'm sure there's at least a few who don't.
And who cares? Not me. So who are these few people? What did they say? Do they not like me? You know what? I don't care, but if someone said something, I feel like I should know. Who was it?
Tendi wants to be friends with everyone so badly that she's willing to hunt down and hurt people who don't like her. That's like Hufflepuff on steroids, which would describe me, but obviously I don't need steroids with nerd guns like these. But Tendi is also super optimistic. She can see the bright side in like any situation. On her very first day on the Cerritos, a sort of rage virus infects the crew, and this ends up happening to her.
The anesthetic is useless. We have to work through the pain. Your hands clean? Pop this. Don't pass out. Nobody's authorized to pass out.
That's why heart hurts when you pop it. Oh, God. Oh.
Sorry.
You know how you'd react to that? I know how I would. Not at all well. But just a little while later...
Still happy to be here?
Are you kidding? I got to hold a heart!
And of course there are more instances, such as...
I was actually supposed to be assisting Nurse Westlake.
That is Nurse Westlake.
Wow, it's such an honor to meet you, sir. I'm looking forward to working with you. We wanted to be liked and lied about it. I think that means we're best friends! I'm about to die with my best friend!
I analyzed all Federation languages and calculated a mathematically perfect name.
What is it?
Peanut Hamper!
Peanut hamper? I love it!
Hey, don't worry. I'm sure you still have a lot to do. I mean, for example, we could start working on me, get me back up to my feet.
Worry, I'm her liaison. Peanut hamper fitting in is my greatest victory! Your implant, it must have damaged your long-term memory. Do you remember me at all?
Well, no. But don't take it personally. I don't remember what I don't remember.
You know what this means, right? We get to become best friends all over again!
Her best friend lost every memory of the two of them, and she was excited because it meant they'd get to become best friends all over again. How many of us can say that they'd react like that in that situation? None, says I! Get that girl out of her uniform and put her in some yellow and black. That didn't sound right. Maybe put in a different line. Oh, right, I forgot the hard-working bit. Tendi is indeed a very hard worker. She protests the idea of buffer time, which is a practice among ensigns to tell their superiors that a job they're assigned to do will take longer than it actually would, so that they get a little time off between assignments. And she made a dog. Like, literally made it.
I did it! I updated the dog.
What does that even mean? Hey!
In medical, they encourage us to do side projects. So I took a bunch of inert carbon and built myself a fluffy friend from scratch. It's supposed to look like a dog.
I'm starting to think you know more about DNA than you do about dogs.
We don't have any on Orion. We're really missing out. Dogs are great.
Go!
Oh, look at you. You're just a cute little cinnamon roll. Yes, you are.
That dog is the stuff of nightmares, sure. But Tendi created it out of carbon in her spare time. What do you do in your spare time? Because I'm guessing it's not genetic manipulation. Oh, and by the way, the only reason Tendi is not a Ravenclaw, despite the fact that she created a dog from scratch, is that a true Ravenclaw would get a dog right. Awkward segue into the next ensign, Samanthan Rutherford. And no, I did not mispronounce his name. See? Rutherford is in the engineering division, and has become part of almost a trope I've now noticed in Star Trek, amongst engineers with cool cranial accessories. By the way, If any of you out there are 90s kids who watch TNG, and you're going to claim that you didn't put one of those banana clips over your eyes to look like Geordie LaForge,
You sit on a throne of lies.
Rutherford is undoubtedly a hard worker as well as Tendi, as evidenced by this.
Line DPS conduit, don't call me. Mine are aligned as hell.
Wait, aren't there like 100 of those? How long have you been in there?
A solid week. Crawling through cramped ducts, prying open panels, and adjusting red-hot power cables. Look, I've got blisters on my blisters.
No one should be that happy about spending a week crawling through the Jeffries tubes like John McClane in Die Hard. But Rutherford sure is. It got to the point where I was wondering if I was going to end up sorting him into Hufflepuff along with Tendi, because the man loves to work, and he is super friendly. But then I took a closer look and I realized Rutherford is a Ravenclaw. He's got the intelligence for it, and just watch him solve problems with technobabble.
We need a virus that takes advantage of a trusting system! If we bypass the indica controls and suppress the Sati vents, it should function as a rudimentary plasma filter! I initiated a rapid repeating emergency transport sequence and beamed the entire crew before we crashed.
And of course, let's not forget Badgie. Badgie is an AI created by Rutherford as a training program, which somehow glitched and wants to kill him, and it's still more likable than Clippy. This is a guy who was on a date in the pilot episode of this show and brought it to a screeching halt when a problem came up that needed solving.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
What did you expect?
Well, for these maintenance hatch doors to recognize our comm badges.
Oh, no, I mean, what just happened?
I'm more worried about what didn't just happen. Failure analysis estimates the reliability of this mechanism at 1 out of 4.69 repeating. Oh, are you seeing this?
And yes, he has a cybernetic implant, but it doesn't make him smarter. In fact, most of the time it's more of a hindrance than a help. That intelligence is all Rutherford, baby. Welcome to my house. One thing, though.
Corn wedding!
What do you have against Gorn weddings, dude? Love is love. Which brings us to Bradward Boimler. And no, I didn't say that wrong either.
He's nothing compared to my Bradward.
Oh, your real name is Bradward?
Yeah, I'm a Bradward. There's Bradley, there's Bradward.
Now, given that there are 4 houses in Hogwarts and 4 ensigns, and since I've already gone through 3 of the houses, you might think that I'm going to put Boimler in Slytherin. And you'd be right, but I'm not just putting him there because Slytherin is the only house left. Brad Boimler is by far the most ambitious of the 4 ensigns. The very first thing he does in the show is a voiceover of him making a fake captain's log.
Captain's log. Stardate 57436.2. Our specialty is second contact. Still pretty important. We get all the paperwork signed, make sure we're spelling the name of the planet right, get to know all the good places to eat.
Oh my god, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Oh no. Are you pretending to do a captain's log?
That's an ensign pretending to be a captain, and that's how his character is introduced. And naturally, there are other examples.
I'm into it. We get to rub shoulders with the visiting crew, maybe impress another captain.
Oh, you're just excited to kiss a whole new butt, aren't you?
Well, I wouldn't put it like that, but yes. Hey, if I part my hair like this, do I look more promotable or less? More, less, more, less? Yeah, sure.
You didn't even look!
He was clearly kissing your butt. It's not like he had a pre-written letter of recommendation, which would save you so much time since all you had to do is sign it.
Oh, Boimler, not you!
Handsom's picking someone to promote to the Sacramento. I need an edge.
But the kicker for Boimler comes in the last episode of the season. The Pack-Leds, a race regarded as a joke by the rest of the galaxy because they're not that bright, manage to get their hands on the Cerritos, which they refer to as the Enterprise because, like I said, dumb. They get on board the ship and get into a major fight with the crew. And in the middle of it all, this happens.
Banner, in case we don't make it.
We're making it.
I wasn't mad that you were stealing the Sacramento promotion. I apply for those all the time. Nothing ever comes of it.
What? No, why are you freaking out?
Because you would have gotten it, and I miss you, okay? You're my best friend.
Oh, haven't you shared enough secrets today? Just shut up!
Thankfully, Captain Riker shows up with the Titan to save the Cerritos and the day. Boimler and Mariner are commiserating over their victory when Riker shows up. And then... It was established earlier in the series that serving on the Titan would be Boimler's dream job. And despite what he said to Mariner earlier, when the opportunity comes, he jumps at it. That pip on his collar with room for one more means that Ensign Boimler is now Lieutenant Junior Grade Boimler, and he's serving on the Titan. I'm gonna have to stop that. My nerd muscles are killing me. I tell you though, when you work those muscles hard, you really feel it. But that's besides the point. From an ambition standpoint, Boimler is probably the Slytherinest Slytherin who ever Slytherined. Put him in Hogwarts, and he's going to try like heck to be the first second-year prefect and like fourth-year head boy. Or he'll wind up in St. Mungo's after overdosing on whatever the magical equivalent of steroids is to help Slytherin win the House Cup. Damn it! Strained a nerd muscle. I don't even know how I'm going to treat this. So there you have it, folks. Legacy of Harry Potter, hopefully long outliving its creator's legacy and extending into the 24th century. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to rest my nerd muscles. I know I should have stretched first. Alright, throw up the disclaimer before Paramount sees all these clips I used and sues me back to the Stone Age. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around watching another video. I know there's some changes in there in lighting and the exact camera angle, you know, just some technical stuff I'm working through. I hope you at least enjoyed the end result. And if you did, you know what to do. You know, all the usual YouTube stuff. Like, comment, share, subscribe, anything else you can think of to get the video out there, get some eyes on it. And until next time, this has been Opinions No One Cares About. Everyone has opinions. This one was mine.